if a Ferrari was a watch, what watch would it be? Well, there's quite a few choices, but really, in the spirit of both, it would have to be Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe is a company that's been around a lot longer than Ferrari. They got their start in 1839 or 1840, somewhere around there. So they've been around for a long time. Ferrari's been around since the end of the Second World War. But the spirit of those two companies is very, very similar. One of the great marks in the world is Ferrari. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they rose up after the Second World War, starting off with, basically a small garage that repaired Alfa Romeos for racing, and Enzo Ferrari built it into an empire. Over the last 50, 60 years, they became synonymous with high levels of achievement, and the costs of Ferraris have risen to that point. The exclusivity of Ferraris has changed dramatically. They started out being exclusive because they just couldn't make very many of them, and they were sort of sporting cars that not many people knew about. They grew into the Tom Selleck Magnum period, where they were making 308s and 328s and Dinos and that kind of. So they were expensive, but they still weren't out of reach for a lot of fairly affluent people. Since that time, they have become more the cars of the elite. I mean, when you see a Ferrari, and you don't see very many of them, you know that that is a very, very high level of accomplishment. I mean, not just to buy the damn things, but to keep them maintained. That is sometimes very costly. It's one of the oldest watch brands out there. They have become synonymous with the highest levels of horology, and that is Patek Philippe. I haven't owned that many Patek Philippes. I only have one right now. It's a very exclusive, very special watch. It's a Patek Philippe Nautilus, but it's a moon-phase Nautilus in rose gold with diamonds, which sounds over the top, but it is just a superb piece. And it's worth about as much as a Ferrari. Patek Philippe is not just a company that has extraordinary quality to their movements and everything. They're also a company, unlike Rolex, who keeps their watches simple and still basically work watches. Patek Philippe has always specialized in going to the furthest edges, really pushing an envelope of what they can do with automatic watches. Some of the most complicated watches, when you say a watch is complicated, it is the amount of different things a watch can do. Patek Philippe has built watches that have alarms, like small bells in them, quarter-hour counters, moon phase, and the list goes on and on. And every time they add a small thing, it's called a complication. And when you think that it's done in a tiny little casing with handmade parts all laid in by somebody who is finishing every tiny piece by hand and getting it to work, and all the thinking that goes in, the design that goes in to making all of these things work inside that watch casing, Patek Philippe has done an extraordinary job over the years of that. Their watches are also a pleasure to look at. They're generally done, 18 karat gold and white gold and platinum and stainless. I mean, they're using all of those materials. Their expense, sometimes their expense is hard. Like a Nautilus in stainless steel is still, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 watch. Is that justified? It is by the name. Some Ferraris are, they're not $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 anymore, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even for some of the cheaper ones, is that justified? Yes, in the name. Because the name carries so much weight with things like Patek and with Ferrari. They are something to aspire to. I've had a couple of Ferraris and I've had a couple of Pateks. I'm not a collector of either, simply because, they are actually beyond my means. Although I have quite a few friends and they are well within their means. As a matter of fact, I have one chap I've known for, 30 years. He's got over 300 Ferraris, but that's a whole different level of accomplishment. I've also got friends who have large collections of Patek Philippe and Automotive and all of these very, very, very exclusive brands. And funnily enough, quite often there's a crossover there. One chap I know collects Ferraris and Patek and has substantial collections of both. So you can see there's this melding of mechanical contrivances, because the wonderful thing about watches, it is a machine, and it's a very highly precise machine, one that you can put on your wrist and carry with you at all times. Yeah, Ferrari, the same things apply, except you don't put it on your wrist, of course. You got to keep it in the damn garage. And every time you phone the Ferrari dealership to get something done, well, that's a lot of money.